Okay, it's 8:02. How are you doing? Welcome. Episode 54 of the Sports Therapy Association podcast. How are you? How are you doing? It feels good to be back. I must, first of all, at the risk of forgetting, say thank you very much to Mike Grice of Movement Therapy Education, who last week held the fort whilst I was sunning myself up in the northwest of England. I've listened to it myself, obviously. I'm a big fan of the show. And it was a great episode with Dan Anderson, who was kind enough to come along, of DA Human Mechanics, and Beth and Timmins of Timmins Health and Performance. And they were talking about career opportunities and options for graduate sports therapists. So that's live now. You can download it as a podcast. You can see it on YouTube if you like watching the video part of it. And yeah, thanks, Mike, for standing in again. We'll talk later because I'm going camping, apparently. I've just been told, so there will be another one, but we won't talk about that now. I'll do it later on. And also, I've uploaded, in case you haven't seen it yet, the insurance special, which was episode 52 with David Balin from Balin's, which was brilliant. I listened to that back as well. Such a nice bloke. And I think it was really good because it showed the person behind Balin's. It showed that although it seems like they're just an organization taking your money, they're not that at all. And when you see the work that goes into providing the service they do, and you see the guy whose family before him, his grandfather, and then parents, and then him, and now his sons continue to strive for what the reasons they're doing it, then it's really quite warming. And also a lot of information on their page, free CPD videos and stuff. Really interesting guy. And I thought it really helped give you an idea of what Balin's is all about. So the next time you're on hold or the line goes dead, you won't start kind of getting your voodoo dolls out. You might realize, okay, well, there are 80 employees over the country, but they might be a bit busy at the moment. So really healthy episode and really nice bloke. So thanks, David Balin, for giving us your time for that. Again, that's all on YouTube. If you want to watch the video, if you do go to YouTube and you enjoy it, then do please leave a comment or leave a rating or something, particularly on Apple Podcasts. If you go there, to the Sports Therapy Association podcast, leave a rating, leave a review. That really helps us just climb the Google search index, which is what it's all about. If you're on an iPhone, that takes literally a minute. So do please do that. If you like the show and you want to show some support, just leave a rating, and that really helps it just raise and get the good word out there. What else in housekeeping? I've put the month ahead out there now. Let me just get rid of this little widget along. If you listen to the podcast, you can't see anything on the screen, so sorry about that, but we do like to try and keep it live. It's kind of what it's all about, because it's an opportunity for networking and that sort of thing as well. So what we've got on the screen at the moment, let me just hide that. Welcome to Sports Therapy Association. We've got a little bit of artwork showing who's coming up this month. So I'm very excited tonight for an endometriosis special, which I only just managed to fit onto the adverts. I'm glad the name isn't any longer. With Deborah Thurlow-Rowley, which is an equally long name. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a fascinating topic. Again, something which I certainly don't know enough about. And as we're going to see as we chat to Debs, that it's something we can help with. Again, people are going to come through our doors when you hear to the stats and you hear how they're going to be walking through our door, whether we know it or not. And it's better if we do know it because we can guide them again in the right direction. So really looking forward to that. And then next week, we've got Chris Tiley he's going to do over 60s resistance training. Never Too Old to Lift, which is a great website. I know a lot of you are looking forward to that. There was a lot of love for Chris when I put this out on social media, and rightfully so. The week after that, we got a back pain special with Rob Beavan that I'm very excited about, who of the Back Pain podcast. He's putting out some wonderful stuff, and it's a great show. And again, I mean, I'm biased, but it's all about trying to find a nice way to evolve and educate ourselves without feeling kind of beaten up and depressed and kind of all our stuff's rubbish. No, that's not the way forwards. So they're putting out some great information, and I'm really excited that, we've got the pleasure of spending an hour with Rob, who's one of the co-presenters. And then, talking of lovely people, Mike James is back at the end of the month from Sports Injury Fix, who's going to be talking about CPD, which is another big thing. Obviously, things are picking up again now. There's lots of things in the pipeline which are happening in the next month or so, which begs, the question, how do you pick? How do you know what to join? How do you know how much to pay? And that sort of stuff. And we do pride ourselves at Sports Therapy Association in trying to give you the opportunity to pick whatever you want. We'll give you some guidance without hopefully too much bias. And that's why some people say to me, why are you advertising this when you're normally online saying, don't be doing that. Don't be doing these adjuncts. It's a waste of time, which I don't really say. I just personally don't really favor them much. But we don't tell you what to do. We just try and give you information, and you can choose which of the courses you do. So that's what it's all about. So there we go. So very exciting month coming up. I can't wait to get through all of these guests. I'm just going to say hello to people who have joined us on Facebook. Already the place is filling up. If you do join us live on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, then obviously when you come in, you can put your comments up on the screen. Look, there's a lovely picture of Emma Victoria Wardle there with some lucky chap next to her. Evening all, says Emma. Hey, how you doing, Emma? Mark Nussey is in the house. Emma is already recommending this out to other people. Emily, you may want to listen in or catch up. There we go. Gary's in the house as well. Hey, Gary, how you doing? Founder of Sports Therapy Association. Becky, long-time supporter and valued member of STA, is here as well, listening from her fresh new clinic. Congratulations, Becky. How exciting. It's been a pleasure watching a few of you setting up your clinic now. We're allowed back face-to-face and that sort of thing. So I hope that's really going well for you. It seems like we're beginning to see the beginning of the new norm, which is really exciting. So who else is Emma? Emma, thanks for doing the PA here. Look, Lauren Charlotte, you may also want to have a listen. That's amazing. Thank you. Keep going, keep going. Catherine's here talking of new clinics. Hope you're well, Catherine. Oh, Debs, I don't want to say much. We've got a lot of people in here tonight. It looks like there's going to be some questions. No pressure, Debs. Stacey's here as well. Good evening. Lizzie Roby's here. Such a cracking lineup, I know, isn't it just? And Lauren Charlotte is here watching. And Mike Grice is here. Thanks, Mike, for covering last week. Really, really kind of you. Great job as always. And yeah, we'll talk later about another little camping expedition I've got. But anyway, there we go. So if you listen to the podcast, sorry about that, but maybe you can come and join us live. You know, we normally have between 40 and 80 people here talking, discussing, asking questions, and you're welcome to join us. You haven't got to be an STA member. It's open to all soft tissue therapists, and that includes obviously physios, chiros, osteos, non-osteos, anything, whatever you want to call yourself. Come along and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Right, enough of me warbling on. So tonight we're going to have the pleasure of an hour with Deborah Thurlow-Rowley. It's an endometriosis special, so obviously fire those questions away. It'd be great to listen to Deb's story, and obviously if you do have any questions, then we'll give you contact details and links to go to for further information. So without further ado, let's bring up who I shall now refer to as simply Debs. There you go. How are you doing?
Hi everyone. I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
Sorry to leave you down there. Sorry to leave you down there for a while. Always feel a bit guilty.
I just kind of like popped up.
You sounded like you were enjoying yourself at my ridiculous chatter. So that's good. You were laughing.
Very informative, very excited about what's coming up. Some great stuff. I was laughing at you, yeah.
That's fine. But it's great, and including you as well. It's been great. We've had this in the pipeline for a while, and it's a really important subject, as we're going to hear about. If you've spoken a lot on it, but it's your first time to actually do a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah. This is a virgin podcast for me. So yeah, very excited about doing this.
Gentle then with the guys. Okay,
Thank
gentle.
Please be nice.
Exactly. Let's get rid of that for a moment so I can see you better. There we are. So endometriosis. I always like to kind of guide the podcast as if people really don't know anything about it. So at the fear, maybe obviously you work in it and you have to deal with it on a daily basis yourself. But for someone who's really not aware of what it is, how do you tell them? How do you explain it?
Well, what I'm going to say is I'm going to read exactly what it is. So we have endometriosis leaflets from Endometriosis UK. So I'm going to read exactly what it is because I think that's much clearer and it's a good way to do it. So endometriosis is a condition where cells similar to the ones lining the womb grow elsewhere in the body, generally the pelvis. These cells react to the menstrual cycle each month and bleed. However, there is no way for the blood to leave the body, which can then cause inflammation, pain, and the formation of scar tissue, which we know as adhesions within the cavity. So, for example, mostly it's found within the pelvic cavity, but sometimes it's been found on the brain, sometimes it's been found in the diaphragm, arms, legs, and it's even been found in men as well, but very rarely.
Okay, so straight away you blow my mind. I didn't realize. I thought I'd read up a little bit on it, thinking of it. I didn't realize it can sometimes be found in men.
Yep, there has been a number of men across the world. So I'm just talking about the UK at the moment, but across the world where they found in a man's brain, they found it in a lung. So it could depend, I guess, I would assume, on chromosomes. We don't really know why endometriosis presents in over 46 million women across worldwide, over 2 million in the UK. We don't know why.
It's an amazing stat as well. So just to repeat that, so how many women did you say in the UK?
So in the UK, there are over 2 million women. So it's 1 in 10 currently have a form of endometriosis, so painful periods, and it can present in many, many different ways.
So painful periods sounds like, and I'm not obviously speaking from experience, but having mixed with women most of my life, it's something which a lot of women probably just assume it's just me, it's just my luck, I just have a heavy period. So you're saying that we need eyes a bit more open to what it could be?
Yeah, so very much so. Pain in the abdomen because you're having a period is not normal. It is not normal. Everyone says, oh, it's normal, it's fine. Nope. You should not receive incredible pain that is debilitating and throws you to the couch where you're curled up in a ball. That is not normal. You may feel some slight discomfort, but if you are in incredible pain, that's not normal. If you are having really sore, loose bowels, that is not normal. There is a correlation between everything kind of kicking off in the womb and then obviously some sort of bowel situation as well, but it should never be of the extreme. And often when a woman goes to a GP and says, oh my God, I'm in so much pain, I've got these periods, A, they're told it's quite normal. B, they're told to go and get pregnant. C, they're told it's in their head. And D, they are misdiagnosed with various different types of things: PID, pelvic inflammatory disease, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, all sorts of different things. So I think it's very difficult to get a diagnosis. It took 10 years to get me diagnosed.
We've heard this similar from other great pelvic health physios we've spoken to. We spoke to Emma Brockwell, Gordon Donnelly. We spoke to the guys as well. Gerard Green was only a few weeks ago, and they've all kind of insinuated the same thing. The GPs just seem to brush it off. How you've had experience yourself, you've looked into it, you've researched it, you work with women with it. Why is it that the level of service, it seems, when young women do go to GP seems to be like that? Why are they being told these things?
I think miseducation, not enough funding for education. So Endometriosis UK, who I'm the co-leader for Bedfordshire in the UK, they try and put out as much awareness as possible to then try to raise funds so that it becomes more aware. We are working with the NHS in varying forms to try and educate so that it gets to GP level, but it's very difficult to get GPs to understand, and it presents, you've only got sort of 6 to 10 minutes with a general practitioner to say, right, well, I've got really painful periods. Okay, well, let's deduce it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, and that can take years. So there are key things that endometriosis could be, and there are women now that I hear about that come to me and they say, this is happening, that's happening. I'm like, have you thought about endometriosis? It could be. Why don't you go to GP? And they'll say to the GP, could it be endometriosis? And even then the GP says, well, and I'm like, oh,
that's really
so it's just ill education. I think we're getting there, but it's slow.
It's really sad. I'm not having a go at GPs, but like you say, it could be a funding issue. It could be. I remember my wife, only from personal experience, but she had a fibrosis when she was pregnant with the first one. It was this big ball that was sticking out. It looked like an elbow or a foot, and we actually started thinking how cute. And then it started. Then we realized that something was kicking the ball, and it was kind of coming out even further. And it was very uncomfortable, obviously, when she was speaking. So she went to the doctors. Actually, just the doctors? No, we ended up going to the hospital, to the A&E. It was really uncomfortable. And even then, it was kind of brushed off like, oh no, that's okay, it's just the foot coming out. And she's like, it's not the foot, because I can feel when inside my baby is kicking it forwards.
Trust
and they
the woman,
kind of,
they know their body.
but they wouldn't have it. And they went out
Yeah,
and said,
no.
because she was so insistent, as a bless her, my wife is, and love to bits.
Yeah.
Then she said,
Good for
no,
her.
it's not the foot. Okay. Never
Yeah.
argue with a pregnant woman. It's basic
No.
101. But yeah,
Yeah,
he
no.
went out, and then someone else came in to have a look, and they were like, oh yeah, you're perfectly right. We really don't see many of these at all. And when it came to the actual birth, which was, as you said earlier, when we were off air, sunroof delivery, then they actually took it away and said, oh, yeah, okay, can you sign here? Which I thought was amusing. I love it when they give women who've just had a cesarean a little thing to sign. Is it okay if we take this away?
Yeah.
But she did, and they took it away for medical examination to present to other students. But
Fantastic.
doctors do seem to happen so much. We're always saying with massage therapists, if you listen to the patient enough, then they'll tell you what's wrong with them if you give them the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
But
Whilst
it seems
you're
to happen
working
across
with
the
your
board.
hands,
Yeah,
open your ears. Yep.
exactly.
Yep. Close your
Even
mouth.
GPs
Work
aren't
your
doing
hands. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Definitely.
It's a shame. But anyway, hopefully through things like this and yourself doing the great work you do, then things are getting better.
Yeah.
So
we
it's
will
like,
get there. Yep.
that's very positive. So 1 in 10, basically, you said, did you? Which I think I read somewhere is similar to diabetes, isn't it?
Yep. So diabetes is more well known than endometriosis, and yet, half the population are female. So there's a lot of us out there that are dealing with endometriosis on a daily basis and just don't know which way to turn. And it can be very frustrating. So I know that people are trying to work through it. They take days off sick. And the employers really don't know what to do either. I've had people coming to me saying, we employ these people. How do I deal with it? Which is really proactive. But there are employers that don't understand. And that's, again, where Endometriosis UK comes in, because they have a website where you can go on there and find documentation that you can then send or give to your employer and say, right, it's this, it's that. But of course, they have sick days because they can't move. I've spoken to people even recently that have to sit down in between seeing people or whatever, because it's just too much. And that's not normal. And the good thing about it is that, okay, that's not normal, but we can do things. Endometriosis is incurable. There is no cure. And there are ways that you can adapt to living with it. And for example, there are now MRIs that can diagnose it rather than having to go through a laparoscopy. There are a number of women that have been through many laparoscopies. I've been through 4, but it just means that there is a way that you can make yourself better and you can deal with this pain. There are many avenues.
Yeah, I want to, before we get into your story, which is obviously a first-hand account of how painful it is and what you've been through in your experience of it being missed and not diagnosed.
Yeah.
I'm excited because, as we were talking a little bit off air before, it's another example where I think people are going to come to soft tissue therapists because they're in pain. They've got pelvic pain or lower back pain, which could be symptoms of this. And it's another opportunity, I think, for massage therapists, just if they ask the right questions and open the door to conversation, to actually help these people get diagnosed rather than waiting another 7 years. We're more likely to see them probably before the GP even, because they just think, I need a massage, that's all. I've got to get on with work.
Absolutely true. Yeah, I'm nodding away here, so people on the podcast can't see
that.
Yeah.
I mean, the people watching at the moment, there's something going on here. No one's leaving any questions. So it's 2 possibilities. 1, we're no longer live, or 2, everyone is so transfixed with what you're saying that they're just like, oh my God, this is such an eye-opener. If someone just wants to say hi, just to make sure that you can actually still hear us, Danny or Helen or Mike. Is this
helpful? Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. It probably, I mean, the numbers are filling up as we're talking, so I think they're just sharing it, but we'll continue. But someone could say hi, that'd be great. So yeah, it is, isn't it? It's an example of, so what sort of questions do you think hey, thanks, Lauren. Lauren's just said, hey, thank you, Lauren.
Hi,
what sort of questions do you think massage therapists who see a lot of people coming in with pain could have on their PAR-Q to give people an opportunity to tick? What sort of things could they add which could help these people get referred properly?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got a little list. I think I was saying to you before off air that the NICE team, so through the NHS, have done a sort of, what they call it, a first presentation. So there's like a little tick list that says things such as, are you in chronic pelvic pain? So not necessarily acute, but the longevity of the pain. So is it chronic? Has it continued for a long time? Is it affecting everything that you do on a daily basis? Do you have dyspareunia, which is sexual intercourse? Is that painful for you? Is there something that you're suffering with, cyclical gastrointestinal stuff? So an IBS type of situation, do you suffer with those quite regularly, even if you're not on your period? Most women are quite happy on a one-to-one basis to talk about their period, even if the soft tissue therapist, massage therapist is male. If you ask the question, they'll go, oh yeah, I'm really heavy, or I'm really light, or I'm a bit, most women will probably say if it's painful. And there's also urinary tract infections is quite symptomatic with endometriosis. So if there's a lady that's coming in that's constantly having UTIs, you can say, how are your periods? So just asking the questions, are they regular? Do they have a period app? Is a really good way to sort of find out how they're doing. If they're in pain, you can see how it's moving and how they're doing, and they feel in control of it as well. A lot of the time when you're in acute and then chronic pain, you're not in control anymore, and it's a horrible feeling. So to have something where you can then control that, like an app, and then you can go to a GP and say, look, GP, for the last 12 months I've been all over the place, help me out, and that's really helpful.
So I'm interested, people, I understand you can't see the comments, which is a shame, because they're all saying hi. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what that is.
Everyone.
Yeah, they're all loving it. So people who are out there in here, I'm interested to know, people who have joined us live, do you have a question on your medical PAR-Qs, which the patients normally fill out beforehand, to do with periods? Or do you just have the kind of typical, do you suffer from incontinence or something like that? Do you give the person coming in the opportunity to actually mention whether they're regular or whether they are having particularly heavy periods? Is it something you've put in there, or is it something you've deleted off, thinking, oh, no one's actually going to want this question? It's just, let's make it fit onto the page. It's such a shame it goes onto a page and a half. Let's condense it down, because I know that can happen, especially the younger therapists trying to make it look neat. So yeah, people, let me know out there whether you do, and whether in your case it's actually stimulated a conversation, whether you've seen a tick, which somebody else said, it's so nice, isn't it? You don't want to sit down and go, so thanks for coming in today, how are your periods? Because it's just not really, they're not expecting it to come from your mouth. They should be, hopefully one day. But if you give them the opportunity to tick a box, that's almost saying, I don't mind talking about this, because they've ticked it. And then you could see it and open up conversation. But yeah.
Another thing, Matt, sorry to interrupt you. Another thing is infertility. So a huge issue with endometriosis is infertility. This is going to go slightly off on a tangent, but often as therapists, we will see women that are trying to conceive because they're trying everything. They're trying to relax, they're trying to chill out, they're trying to get pain sorted. So it's not just about pain, it's also about trying to rest. And that's another reason, my periods are irregular. Yeah, I might be looking at IVF. Oh, why is that? What's happening? So that can also be another thing. If they're trying to get pregnant and they're not getting pregnant, why?
Very interesting. Okay, fine. There's a few questions coming out now. We've woken people up a little bit. Let's have a look then. Are you okay to take some questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Right. So Sammy Jack, normally you can see this, makes it very exciting, but I'll read it out for you. And also,
thank you.
Also,
sorry.
For people listening to the podcast, and this is the question, it's coming up on screen, but it says, Sammy Jack says, how would we help manage the condition for individuals who have been diagnosed? Advise and treatment modality wise?
How do you mean?
So if somebody has been diagnosed with it, and they've come to us because they are in pain, let's imagine they're being seen already. Is it something that massage can help with? And if so, for what reason do you think?
Yeah, it depends on where the pain is and what the level of pain is and what discomfort they're feeling. So one of the symptoms of some of the severe pain is women get shooting pains from the hip flexor down to the knee. It's a nerve situation. So all of the nerves going around in the pelvis area then send pains going straight down. So any effleurage type of feeling, so going up into the groin area, is really soothing. Any lower back pain because of the the way that the womb sits in the sort of lumbar section is really comfortable to have very sort of normal tissue massage, nothing too deep, nothing too heavy. You don't want to be shifting stuff around. It's sore, but it feels nice, and it definitely helps to relax. So the more relaxed you are, the more comfortable it is. And then many women with endometriosis love heat. So they put all these heat things on them to try and make it better. The problem with that is they end up with burns because they need it so hot that there's like scalding on the skin. So I will often suggest a TENS machine to help with some of the pain, but also we can do that as therapists. We can help like a TENS machine, so we can use little baby trigger points along the spine, along the back of the sacroiliac area, to just try and ease and soothe. So yes, we can help.
Fantastic. That's really interesting to know, and really positive as well. We've
Yeah.
got Claire Hunter here who's bigging you up and saying,
Hello,
I'll read
Claire.
it out again. Claire Hunter says, I've had a great chat with Debs about this. She's the only one, I'll just repeat, she's the only one so far to fully understand, and makes you feel like you're not on your own. For 2-3 days a month, it's like you've just given birth again, exclamation mark. The pain goes down your legs into your feet too, just awful. You dread it coming. So there we go.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. That's really kind.
Thanks for sharing, Claire. It's
we had a really good chat. Thank you.
Fantastic. Let's have a look. Oh no, Becky Carroll's just gone perhaps random. I'm going to spin past that, Becky, for the moment, because I know you and it will be random. Let's have a little look. Katie Greenhalf has said here, can I just add, some people don't have every single symptom. I guess that's important as well. It's very individual. Right. Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely right. Thank you. It's a really good point. So every person that ever comes through the door to see you is a different person, whether they're male or female. And it's the same. Endometriosis presents in different ways, which is why the GPs have so much trouble trying to diagnose it. And it can take up to 7 years now. It used to be 10 years, now it's 7. So it's worth asking the questions and getting to know your person, your client, your guest, or whatever, patient, whatever you call them. It's good to try and work out whilst they're with you, because actually you can probably help the GPs by honing it down a bit further. I've got really bad headaches. Is it hormonal? I've got really sore back. How high is it on the back? Is it where the womb is? Is it further down? Me personally, I had a lot of endometriosis deposits in the pouch of Douglas, which is right at the back, and my bowel was stuck to my spine. So I had a lot of pain in my back, whereas a lot of women present at the front or to the left or to the right, depending on whether they have other complications. So endometriosis can then cause endometriomas. Now, an endometrioma is a very large cyst that attaches to the ovary, and that can then cause pain as well, because it's pushing on other organs, it's pushing on muscle. So absolutely, that's a really great question, and really good statement actually, to say that it's not just presenting in one way. There's many ways that it can present. So just keep asking the questions. Does this hurt? What happens with this? It's a really good way.
Great comment, Katie. Yeah, really good. And yeah, reminds us that regardless of, we do treat the people, don't we? We're not treating the symptom or the body part. So yeah, really good, Katie. Sammy, just I forgot to say, if you got some follow-up question for that, Sammy, I hope that helped you the answer. But if there's anything else you want to add to that question, then do let us know. Actually, Becky's asked something. I was joking, Becky. Your question's always great. But Becky Carroll has said a great question. She says perhaps a random question, but are there any direct effects that endometriosis has on the menopause?
This is a really good question.
She's good, isn't she? She's always good. That's my
it's
take
a really good question. Good. So there are lots of theorems about the menopause and where we are going, and it's quite in the public eye at the moment because Davina McCall put something out there as well on television. So I think it's very in people's minds at the moment. Oh gosh, so a lot of women that have endometriosis are put into an early menopause to try and stave the pain away. So this is done medically, and they use all sorts of variants, such as Zoladex. It's all chemical based, to try and calm it. They use contraceptive pill. There are many ways of dealing with this early menopause situation. But then when you're heading for real menopause, it can send your whole hormones into complete disarray. I'm a real natural person. I like to take particular things to try and help me. So I'm allergic to non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, so I can't take ibuprofen. So I try and use turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, things like that for anti-inflammatory. And then I take for hormonal balance something called starflower oil, which is stronger than evening primrose oil. Many people have heard of this. I'm now 46, so for me, I'm heading for perimenopause. So that's my own experience. But there are lots of women out there that are really in this balance, and they're trying to work out what's wrong. I've got pains in my neck, in my shoulder, and that can be from hormonal imbalances. So again, it's worth going to the GP and saying, I've got this pain, I've got that pain. When you have endometriosis, it's more added things that's coming out, and it's difficult for a GP to sort of work out what's going on. So doing, like I said before, an app that's showing you a pattern, it really helps when you're going to any practitioner and saying, this is what I've been doing for the last year, what is going on? And often with the NHS, they are led down a medical route and chemical route because that's what they're taught. But there are other practitioners out there that use a more holistic approach. So you can choose and take what suits you, I think. Does that help? Does that answer some of it?
I was impressed. Well, Becky will follow up, I'm sure, but I think that's amazing. Yeah, really good question, Becky. And
Yeah,
really
great.
interesting.
Thank you.
Stacey has got a question as well. I'll read it out for people listening to the podcast. So keep these questions coming, people. It's brilliant. And as you can see, Deb's has got the answers. You know, it's really, really, really good. It's really good. No, it's fantastic. So Stacey Garner says, is there evidence to suggest that birth control can level the amount of pain that people who suffer with endometriosis suffer with? Yeah. So evidence that birth control can.
Yeah, another really good question. So a lot of doctors will put, or gynecologists will put women on birth control because it kind of halts the hormonal process. So they believe, one of the theories is that the more hormones that are pumping the body, it's encouraging the endometriosis to grow. So it's almost like a weed. And some people will have operations to cut those weeds down. So there is cutting and there is burning, basically, to try and stave it off, to keep it from growing. And sometimes the contraceptive pills will hold it back. But you are a bit of a guinea pig because some won't work with you, some will. It depends on your own hormones. So it's very difficult to know if it will actually cure pain, but it could help. It could stop it from being encouraged to grow just by holding back the hormones. And that's why they give you contraceptive pills.
Is this, and I've read this, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but can this be part of the problem as well? Because when you are young and suffering from a heavy period, that's a typical doctor response, isn't it? I'll go on the pill, it'll reduce the flow. But
Yeah,
that could be missing further investigation, do you think? Because that happened to you, didn't it? I mean, let's go to your story a little bit. How old were you when you well, looking back, when do you think you wish someone had gone, actually, let's look at this from a different angle?
Yeah, when I was 13, when it all started many years ago. Yeah, when I went to my mum and I went, I'm in so much pain, like, you know, and she said, oh, just take some paracetamol and you'll be fine. And then it became, I'm not fine. This is not fine. And then when I hit 17, I had severe acne, like really bad. And we went to the doctors because my skin was so bad, but it was because of the hormonal fluctuations. And then the pain that I was in was just incredible. So I went onto the pill, really, really happy with the pill. My skin cleared up. I was really happy. There was no problems. And then I had to come off the pill. I had my son, which was quite complicated. And then I went back on the pill, but then I could only stay on the pill for a certain length of time because that contraceptive wasn't allowed to continue. And then that's when everything kicked off. I came off and I was at stage 4. I was a complete mess inside, and they needed to start the operations. But it took a while to get there. And I went through 8 different consultants telling me that it was psychosomatic. telling me that I didn't have a twisted ovary, so there was nothing wrong with me. At the time, I was smoking as well, so I quit that straight away. Really, really bad idea. And it took a long while. Then when I found a gynecologist that understood it, he cancelled the rest of his patients for the day and took me on board. I was very, very lucky.
Wow. Gosh.
Yeah.
So a few people had to. And do you think people who saw you then, therefore, was it a wake-up call for consultants? I suppose they must have been told, or I suppose that's the way they learned, just realizing, I saw this woman, I didn't think about asking.
The consultant said to me, wow, you really know it, and you're very good at being able to tell people about it and sort of help. He said, would you consider like doing a group? And I'm like, just fix me first. What? So I eventually approached Endometriosis UK, and it took 5 years to kind of get on with them, because they had a lot of people leaving. It's not a big charity. There's a lot of fights out there. And eventually I got with them, and then I've been with them for about 5-6 years now. So yeah, we're getting there, but it's a really slow process. Yeah.
Right, we're going to bring some pictures up, aren't we? Which you've given us permission to share.
I can't see them, but yeah, I have no idea what you're going to put up. I do, obviously, I've given them, but I don't know what's coming up.
I'll have to describe it to you then. Okay, let's bring one up. I just want to. Okay, so the picture of the moment is the one with the white underwear.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Okay, have you got the picture now? Because there's one with red. It's the easiest way to describe it.
Yeah, no, so I haven't. As long as it's not greying underwear, I'm quite happy about that.
No, it's the white underwear with the plaster and the tattoo. And yeah, talk to us through when that was and what that photo's showing.
Okay, so this is my 4th laparoscopy. So I've gone through 4 of these. This is my last one, and I decided that actually I probably need to take some pictures and show people what I look like in the absolute worst of it. So it's quite interesting to see what's on the outside. And when I put that on Facebook to show my story, I took the plunge and did it, and people were like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" Oh my god, I've been dealing with this since I was 13. This is like, but because it was visual, it really hit home, and other women were coming to me, and I had some lovely stories where people had seen it, told other people, and then they'd been diagnosed with it, which is not great, but it means that you can handle it, and it means that actually you can get help.
Brilliant. That's what I think that's what I wanted to put up tonight. And obviously thank you for sharing these photos with it, because it's exactly what you've just said. People can go, I recognize that. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? I'm just changing the picture over to now the one where you're looking at some scans, some pictures, like 6 images there. What are we looking at there?
These photos I took with the permission of the hospital to show that I'm at stage 4 endometriosis. So all those kind of dark red deposits, they're kind of lifting an ovary, and you can see these horrible dark red deposits are endometriosis. So you can see where it's sitting across the tissue, and all the white kind of strings are the endometriosis adhesions. So where I've had previous operations, it will cause more adhesions, but also it's almost like the adhesions are sticking to organs, and it feels like someone's like tugging your hair inside your abdomen. So as you move or twist, it feels like someone's going oof and pulling your hair. So any sort of feeling that somebody might describe like a sort of really taut, sharp pain in the pelvis, could it be endometriosis? It's that kind of thing that you're wanting to find out, really.
And it is a persistent pain issue, isn't it? Because people are telling you what causes it, and there's no cure, which is never great. But what sort of pain do you live with, and does it fluctuate depending on time of the month and stuff? Or
so time of the month, I become quite painful. It does become quite intense. There are way back before the last laparoscopy, I was on Targanact, which is a slow release painkiller. So if you're at that type of stage, you can ask your GP to refer you to the pain management team. It's not ideal because it is chemical based, and they are really, really like under it, the pain management team, but they can put you onto like slow release painkillers, so you can actually just manage your day on a day-to-day basis until you can find some alternative, or if you're waiting for surgery, things like that. It's very helpful for them to then look at you and what you can cope with, because I'm quite small, and there are women that are a lot smaller than me, and there's a lot of women that are bigger than me. So it's different sort of pain management, I guess, that they need, and the dosage. So you definitely need to be under somebody. Taking some ibuprofen isn't good for your stomach. Taking some codeine isn't good for your bowels. So you kind of need something that is going to work with your body. And when I was on Targanet, I think that's the brand. When I was on Targanet, my bowels were working fine. I was out of pain, and I was able to manage it until I had my surgery.
It's interesting. Whenever I or anybody, whenever we talk to people who know what pain really is, even like women, once they've had sort of children, then the whole level of 1 to 10 has a new meaning and a new kind of benchmark. But even listening to you, you kind of looked and said, yes, it's quite intense. And you used the word quite. And I think people who have suffered pain find it difficult to actually show how big the pain is. But to give us an idea, so at its worst, during like once a month, you could use a scale if you want, or give us an idea of what you're not able to do, or whether you're bedridden, or give us more of an idea.
Yeah, I say it throws me to the couch. So I am always in a level of pain round about 2 or 3. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm always in a 2 or 3. I'm always like, oh, oh. When I get just before my period, or now also I'm getting it halfway through, so at ovulation stage as well, and I know that now because I'm on my app. I think, oh, I'm getting that pain again. And sometimes the pain at ovulation stage, because of endometriosis, is more painful than before. It also gives you chronic fatigue. So when I get to period stage, or the ovulation stage, I will get to a 10, 11. I'm in so much pain. It stops me sometimes from breathing. I get quite anxious because I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I've got things planned. There's also something called endobelly. So you may notice that all of a sudden women may say to you, oh, I haven't even eaten bread today. All I've eaten is this. And my belly's just gone, and it just bloats out for no reason. That is very, very key of endometriosis. It's a real symptom of endometriosis, this big bloating, and it can be followed by pain. Again, if the pain is at sort of 6 upwards on a scale of 1 to 10, then you know that you're probably suffering endometriosis. Yeah.
Someone's got a question here which reminded me, but before I go to the question, what sort of things have helped you then? And obviously the solutions for you might not be the same for other people, but in your case, what have you found that's helped?
So a really good diet that works for you, and I say the word diet loosely, I mean like a way of living. So I love fresh fruit and vegetables and things like that. So too much fruit's probably not so good because the IBS, but lots of fresh veg, I eat meat as well. So for me, I need the protein. I need like the rainbow dishes, you've got a bit of everything. I still have the odd cake, I still have chocolate, I still have some crisps. But for me, it was really controlling what I needed for my diet. So for my way of life, I cannot absorb the soy very well. Soya mimics estrogen. So with endometriosis, you have a lot of estrogen within your body, and it seems to kind of push more out, and that also can cause some of the issues. So for me, soya is not good. Soya bean, anything like that, and also linseed mimics the estrogen within the body. So you probably need to speak to a nutritionist to find out more, and that's sort of their job. That's not my job. But for me, I looked at, what are my triggers? What's kicking it off for me? High sugar, too much sugar, alcohol, tea, coffee. What are my triggers? And can I change that to help? And like I said before, Matt, starflower oil, turmeric, ginger is really good with blood. So cinnamon as well, is good with the blood. And ginger is very good with anti-nausea. I suffer nausea when I'm ovulating. These are all real key symptoms of endometriosis.
Wow, so definitely worth talking to a nutritionist and having a look at the diet plan and things. Yeah, no, fascinating. Yeah. I guess that I never knew about like soya and was it on linseed? That's amazing to know that.
Yeah.
It was, and also it prompted me. Sammy's come back. Sammy Jack has said, thank you. Do you find exercise also helps? Because reading your story, Is your story out there somewhere which people do want to read it? Is it available on
It's
there?
on my Facebook, yeah, but I haven't. There is a My Story condensed version on the Endometriosis UK website, so I don't know if you're putting that up later or what
Yeah,
you're
we'll
doing.
make sure
So
that
yeah,
goes in the comments.
okay.
Okay, so people can read your story. Yeah, because you found Sammy's asked here, do you find exercise
Mm.
almost also helps the condition
Mm.
for you? It did, didn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So many years ago, somebody said to me, "Oh, you should try yoga," and I just thought to myself, "Really? No, I'm not bendy at all. I'm so not bendy. I'm gonna hate yoga. I'm gonna hate it." But when I was told, and a friend said, "Yeah, you can do it," and so for me, yoga was really good because even though I'm not that bendy, actually, there's some really good poses that will actually help the uterus to kind of settle and aid with back pain and things like that. So I also now share these with my clients. Like try this, and it really helps. I really like spinning, so it's non-impact. Swimming is a non-impact as well. So anything that's not kind of shunting the pelvis constantly is really good, and it raises serotonin levels. It raises endorphins. So any exercise is good, even going for a walk. But when you are in so much pain, the last thing you want to do is exercise. So for me, I would try and exercise on the days that I could exercise on. And where I couldn't exercise, I'd try some of the little yoga stretches, just so I felt like I was doing something and I was in control of this, not endometriosis. I was. That's not going to control me. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm loving this. Where do you treat from? Just in case anyone needs to go and see you, or where do you work from? When you say you see your clients, where are you based?
So I'm based in Bedfordshire. I
Mm.
have my own practice in Caddington, and I also work in a couple of clinics as well. So there's one in Welwyn City, and there's one in Harpenden that I kind of pop in and do some sort of stuff in there. But I actually have my own practice as well.
And do you think, is there much variety in people who work in your field, i.e. helping people with endometriosis? Could you see somebody and they'll be giving you stuff which is totally different than someone else, or is there kind of some form of homogenization if you go via the endometriosis.uk, or your face tells it all?
Oh, it's really difficult. So it's quite divided. So there's something called the BSGE. You Google BSGE, and you'll find all the endometriosis centres that are based to do with the NHS across the UK. If you need to get referred to one of those, you can go to your GP and you say, "I think I've got endometriosis." They'll say, "Have you tried to get pregnant?" Or "Are you sure? Do you need antidepressants?" Something like that. Just be quite firm, and say, "No, I think I have endometriosis. I would like you to refer me to one of these hospitals, please." And you have done your research by going onto Google, looking at the BSGEs, and then trying to find out which one you want to go to. And there are fantastic surgeons across the UK. They get inundated, so I'm not going to say all of them because it would be too much for this local area. But there are some incredible surgeons that really understands endometriosis, and they're not just surgeons and they're going to take it away. There's one surgeon that was recently in Hertfordshire. He did the whole thing with robots, and he went in robotically so that he could monitor it and find out where they go. The guy that was my surgeon, my gynecologist, he actually does fetal surgery. So he goes inside the womb and actually performs surgery on babies. So I trusted him completely. Some incredible people out there, and they're all part of these endometriosis centres under the BSGE. So you can find
Wow.
them.
We'll make sure in the show notes that all these links get put in. Right. Thanks, Sammy.
Okay.
Great question.
Well
We've got
done.
some more questions here. Let's have a little look. Let me just scroll up so I don't miss
Might have
anything.
a sip of my tea if that's all right.
Oh, yeah, you go for it. Slope
Thank
away.
you.
It's fine. We talked about that. Let's have a little look down there. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So Catherine has asked a question here. You just said this is a while back, but about cysts. Is it also related to polycystic ovary syndrome, or can it be mistaken for PCOS?
Yep, so PCOS has its own classic. So polycystic ovary syndrome is quite easy to spot. So women often suffer with weight issues, often suffer with excess hair. So it's quite easy to spot very quickly. However, if one ovary is polycystic, and the other one isn't, then it's not so easy to show. So you will find that fertility can be a problem with PCOS. You will get pain, and they will probably be able to find if you have PCOS, and it's very, very clear links with endometriosis on an MRI. So if any doctor says to you, well, we'll do an ultrasound, it's no good because they're going into the womb and not into the pelvic cavity. Whereas with PCOS, they can go into the womb and they can look at the ovary there. So they can probably tell whether you have PCOS. Whether they can tell that it's linked with endometriosis, they may not know this unless they've gone into the cavity of the womb. So either a laparoscopy or an MRI.
Yeah. There you go, Catherine. If you need a follow-up on that, then let us know, Catherine. That's a great question.
Well
Jackie
done,
here is
thank you.
sharing some experience. I'll read it out for people listening to the podcast and for you,
great.
Debs. So
Stop
Jackie says, I had an endometriosis, had to have a radical hysterectomy in my late 20s, used to have so much pain because I developed chocolate cysts, which we can explain in a second, in my ovaries. Yes, because of surgical intervention, had an earlier menopause, but was then put on HRT. One of the main problems for me were the pains in lower back and groin and upper legs. I'm now 66 and there was very little help back then.
Yes. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, I've heard these type of stories many times, but it's still very individual.
Let's mention the chocolate cysts. What's that about?
So an endometrioma is a cyst, and it's larger than normal, and it's attached to the ovary. A chocolate cyst is an endometrioma that is full of old blood, so it appears chocolate-like on any scans or anything. These can be very painful if they burst, very, very painful. You are just stunned, you cannot move, and often women will end up in hospital. If they burst, then the tissue can then stay in the pelvic cavity and can cause adhesions, can cause toxic situations. Sometimes they just absorb into the body. So I've had 2 bursts now, and I've been on the phone to NHS Direct, and they just ask you, do you have a temperature? How are you feeling? Whatever. And I know how to deal with it now. I will just go and get in a really hot bath. I will take some codeine, some paracetamol, and I know how to deal with it. But if you've never had one before and it bursts, it's incredibly painful, and you do need medical help just to rule out any toxic situations, because I don't know how your body will take it. But generally, I have a link with an endo nurse at Luton Dunstable Hospital, and they have told me that generally it's absorbed into the body, but I don't know what your body's already taking on board. So if that ever happens, do get medical advice. A chocolate cyst can also spend its life there and never do anything. People can have fibroids. I have a cyst at the moment and a fibroid, and I'm not struggling with it at the moment. So it depends on the mass that's already there. Like somebody said earlier, I totally forgot, was it Katie? Said everybody's individual, and we present very, very differently. But hopefully that explains what an endometrioma or chocolate cyst is.
There you go. Thanks for sharing, Jackie. How are you now? So you say you're 66. You say you had pain. How are you now? That's what we want to know. Thanks for sharing. How are you now? We're interested to know. So yeah, come back to us. Let's have a little look. Stacey asks the question. Let's have a look. Can major surgery from a large accident start endometriosis from the scar tissue adhesions?
It's unlikely that a catalyst such as a car accident would start endometriosis. It could be something that's already there within the cells, and you have been on birth control pills or whatever, and it's never come to light until all of a sudden your periods start changing and something's happened. So I wouldn't say that a car accident is the catalyst, but it could be something that's happened that then changed your cycles, and then we become aware that there is endometriosis within the pelvic cavity or somewhere else.
Okay, there you go, Stacey. Let us know if you need any more follow-up to that. Thank you for that great question.
I'm sorry to hear that if you've been in a car accident before.
Right, well, look, it's 8:56, and I promised your better half that you'd be clear for dinner by 9.
Yeah, I know.
Sitting
He
there
made
with
me a
his
cup of
knife
tea and
and
everything.
fork.
I
Oh,
know.
really? Laying on the
He's
guilt.
amazing. I know. Check me out. Yay.
Just to to kind of bring it all together then, I mean, it's been
Mm,
fascinating hour, and obviously we could talk more about it,
thank
but
you.
the take home for soft tissue therapists who want to play a part in helping individuals who don't even know that this is going on is
Yeah.
to talk more and open the door to those conversations when people come in.
Yeah.
And you've also mentioned some if people do look like they
Mm.
need help, what leaflets do you think they should have? There you go. And we'll put
Yeah, so
links
we've
to
got
that.
leaflets like this at Endometriosis UK. So you can just email or go onto the website and email Endometriosis UK and have them in your practice. It's absolutely no problem. And it might be just be helpful in a waiting room to have them
Brilliant.
there, or, obviously it's a bit difficult with COVID. There's still some rules. But yeah, it's really helpful for them because it just guides you. It's got the telephone number on there, the help telephone number. So there is a man's line, there's the website, and then on the website, it's got all of information you could possibly ask for to do with employers, where to go, what supports in your area across the UK and Ireland. There's just so much information, and it's really good to kind of guide you through. Yes, it's really helpful.
Fantastic. So that could be like a leaflet if when we're back to normal waiting rooms, or even just on those boards, which I think are great because people love just
Yeah,
looking and reading things while they're waiting. And that's where it could be,
yeah,
oh, that's me. That's me. I need to
yeah.
do this. And it's all kind of no one knows
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, it's great. Okay, fantastic. And if people want to talk about it with you, what's the best way to contact you if they've got further questions about it?
Yeah, by all means. So I'm on Instagram. I'm under Deb's Curly Whirly, so you can contact me there. We also have a Facebook page. So for the support group locally, then we've got a Facebook page. So it's probably really good to just go through Endometriosis UK, go onto the website, and then click on the support thing, and then get me through that way. Or I'm happy to take things on Facebook. You can just find me under Deborah Thurlow-Rowley and message me, and I'm quite happy to take any messages, not a problem. And then I can just guide you to where you need to be if you're across the country, or if you're in America or across the world. We can guide you from there as well.
Fantastic. That's really great. Do you want to explain the curly whirly while people are thinking it?
So my surname's Thurlow-Rowley, and
Yeah.
many years ago, it's quite tricky to say. And there was one gentleman who decided that I was no longer called Thurlow-Rowley. I was Deb's Curly Whirly. Much easier.
I wanted to copy you in on Instagram, but I thought I can't put tonight's chat as with Deborah Curly Whirly on it. It's like no
Deborah
one's
Curly
gonna.
Whirly.
But anyway, that's amazing. Emma here has just summed up, I think, what everyone's thinking. Really great chat, Debs. I have several
Thank
friends
you.
and clients with the condition, so really great to know how I
Oh,
can help more and be able
oh,
to spot the symptoms for any new clients. And that's
oh,
exactly, if everyone
fantastic.
walks away with that, then brilliant job done. And all thanks to you, Debs.
Brilliant.
So thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Thank you.
As always, if people are watching the recording on YouTube, then we can continue this conversation in the comments section. I'll keep my eyes open always, and I do contact guests if there's questions there, and let
Brilliant.
them know. So yeah, keep it going. If you're watching the recording or listening to the podcast, then yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much for all your
Debs.
questions. Thanks ever so much, Matt. I do appreciate the
No,
time
thanks for
tonight.
sharing your
Thank
story
you.
as well. You know, obviously it's
You're
something that affects
welcome.
your life, but it's been really, really interesting hour. So thank you.
Lovely. Thank you.
Before we sign off, just to let you know, next week, I think I mentioned at the beginning, but next week we have got an hour with, let me bring it up, with Chris from Never Too Old to Lift, which is going to be all about over 60s resistance training. I know a few people are already aware of Chris's great work. It's going to be great. What can I say? I'm biased, but it will be really, really good about how the whys of getting people who are over 60 to actually do resistance training, the hows, the misconceptions and things, and the benefits. So do join us same time, Tuesday at 8 o'clock on the Sports Therapy Association Facebook page or on YouTube. And if you can't make it live, then obviously we'll be on the podcast as well. Right. Thanks again, Debs.
Thank
Enjoy your
you.
dinner. And thank everybody for
Thank
joining
you.
us. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Take
Bye.
care all.